Good evening. You're watching AWANI Tonight with me, Saraya Mia. Discussions regarding the Rapid Transit System RTS and Johor-Singapore Special Economic Zone SEZ are close to a final agreement. Singaporean Prime Minister Lawrence Wong, in his inaugural visit to Malaysia, says he is excited about the potential of the SEZ as it has all the ingredients required to succeed.
And Johor and Singapore has all the ingredients to make a very successful economic zone. And the projects we have, including the RTS, are major game changers, which can really tap on the complementarities between Malaysia and Johor and Singapore. Because in fact, our two economies, people harp a lot on the competition, but really we are complementing one another, and the bigger competition is outside of this Singapore, Malaysia, and outside of the region.
Meanwhile, Malaysia recorded 58.6 million visitors in the first quarter of 2024, a 19% increase from the same period last year. Chief Statistician Datuk Sri Muhammad Uzair Mahidin says domestic tourists also increased by 6.5% from the previous quarter.
Domestic tourism expenditure for the first quarter of the year stood at 24.1 billion ringgit. This was an increase of 23.5% year-on-year. Muhammad Uzair said domestic visitors spent the most on shopping, which accounted for 36.2% of their total expenditure, followed by food and beverage and fuel purchases. Malaysia's annual domestic tourism performance had seen a sharp increase in 2023, with a total expenditure of 84.9 billion ringgit compared to 64.1 billion ringgit in 2022. Selangor was the most visited state, followed by Kuala Lumpur and Sarawak.
A federal bill on carbon trading is expected to be presented in Parliament by the end of this year. According to Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Sri Fadilah Yusof, the bill was initially scheduled for tabling next year, but was expedited following a directive from the Prime Minister.
Fadilah, who is also Minister of Energy Transition and Water Transformation, noted that the Sarawak government had already passed a similar bill in the Legislative Assembly.
Betul. In fact, saya bersetuju. Sarawak is quite advanced in terms of law. They have approved it in the Dewan Dan Negeri. They have come up with the regulation. Now the challenge is at national level. Rightfully under the plan, national level, looking at 2025. But in Cabinet, PM has instructed, and I've chaired that meeting, and inshallah by end of this year, the law will be presented. The first RUU will be presented in Dewan Rakyat, hopefully by end of this year. So that will also include not only the laws, the regulation, but looking also at the tax scheme and so on.
Last month, Sarawak Premier Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun Openg said the existing state law in Sarawak on carbon trading will be used as reference to enact a similar law at the federal level, after discussions with the Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim. Sarawak became the first Malaysian state to enact legislation related to carbon trading in November last year, after the State Assembly passed the Environment Greenhouse Gas Emissions Reduction Bill 2023.
Now, the government is introducing an interim refund mechanism for eligible logistics vehicles approved under the subsidized diesel control system, but have yet to receive fleet cards. Second Finance Minister Datuk Sri Amir Hamzah Azizan says the system aims to avoid logistics companies to raise prices of services and burden the people.
This mechanism is a temporary measure to ensure that logistics vehicle owners will be reimbursed the difference between the new diesel retail price of RM3.35 a litre and subsidized price of RM2.50 a litre. In order to be eligible for the refunds, logistic vehicles owners must apply and receive approval by the Domestic Trade and Living Costs Ministry (KPDN) under the SKDS 2.0 by June 30th. Those who have received approvals but not their fleet cards yet can apply for reimbursement from July 1st through the Budi Madani website. The interim reimbursement mechanism is meant to cover the additional expenditure incurred until the fleet card is received. Putrajaya dismantled the blanket diesel subsidy for Peninsular Malaysia on June 10th, replacing it with a targeted scheme.
Malaysia has reaffirmed its steadfast support for the Palestinian cause. Foreign Minister Datuk Seri Muhammad Hassan says, in the long run, successful and effective humanitarian response for Gaza is conditional upon three main elements.
First, we need a comprehensive humanitarian response, as well as recovery and reconstruction strategies that addresses the root causes, namely the denial of self-determination and the prolonged Israel illegal occupation and atrocities. Palestine's inherent right as a full member of the United Nations must be realized. Second, as the occupying power, Israel must be held accountable through a reparative approach in rebuilding Gaza and for the immense violations inflicted upon the Palestinians. Third, we must reinforce the United Nations role in carrying its humanitarian mandate. UNRWA must be empowered, supported and protected to enable it to deliver humanitarian assistance and immediate recovery in social infrastructures, including healthcare services and psychosocial support, and at scale.
It's time for a quick break. We'll be right back with more.
5 lelaki penghantar makanan didakwa di Mahkamah Magistrate Bangi atas tuduhan membunuh seorang pemandu kereta lelaki dalam satu kejadian.
4 sungai di sekitar kawasan perindustrian Pasir Gudang di Johor termasuk Sungai Kim Kim didapati tercemar dan berada pada tahap yang membimbangkan. Kerajaan sudah mulakan inisiatif untuk menggantikan kenderaan operasinya kepada kenderaan elektrik EV dalam skala kecil terlebih dahulu.
Di dalam setiap berita yang dibawa, konteks amat penting. Kami sentiasa membawakan yang tergempar dan terkini. Pastikan Astro AWANI menjadi pilihan anda, tidak kira di mana sahaja anda berada.
Welcome back. The Ministry of Tourism Saudi Arabia has announced it will increase its monitoring and inspection of various tourist hospitality facilities in Makkah. This includes hotels as well as serviced apartments.
The measure was taken to enhance the quality of services provided to pilgrims during this year's Hajj season. Coinciding with this year's Hajj season, the ministry's oversight teams have already carried out over 4,500 monitoring and inspection visits of hospitality facilities in Makkah. During the inspection, they identified more than 4,700 violations, most of which were related to low cleanliness and maintenance standards and activities carried out without obtaining the necessary licenses. The ministry also encouraged pilgrims to submit inquiries and feedback about the services through its official social media channels or by contacting the Unified Centre hotline.
It's imperative for the Saudi Kingdom to ensure the safety and the comfort for all pilgrims. And after all, this year, the Kingdom has introduced so many new initiatives, such as relating to technology and AI. Now, this to ensure that all pilgrims will experience a smooth journey throughout this Hajj season. Syamsan Johari reporting from Makkah Mukarramah for Astro AWANI.
U.S. President Joe Biden says he will respect his son's guilty verdict for gun crimes. Hunter Biden's conviction on all 3 felony counts comes as his father campaigns for re-election in November and less than 2 weeks after rival Donald Trump was convicted in New York of falsifying business records.
The 12-person jury found Hunter was guilty of lying about his drug use on a form when he bought a handgun in 2018. Now he faces a possible prison sentence following the verdict, which marks the first criminal prosecution of a sitting president's child. Biden said he would continue to respect the legal process as his son considers an appeal. The president has previously ruled out pardoning his son, whose week-long trial detailed his use of crack cocaine at the time he bought the gun. Hunter's legal troubles will continue throughout the year and be an issue throughout his father's election campaign. In September, he will go on trial in California on charges of failing to pay $1.4 million in income taxes. If convicted, he could face up to 17 years in prison.
In other news, countries across the globe are bracing themselves for another summer of extreme and unpredictable weather. Climate change is unleashing a barrage of violent storms and deadly heat waves, capping off 10 straight months of record-breaking high temperatures.
This week, parts of northern and central China saw record temperatures, while a severe drought in the east threatened crop production. The National Meteorological Center also warned of the impact of soaring temperatures on energy supplies and people's health. China has experienced unusually warm weather for much of the year, with March to May averages the highest since records began in 1961. The country is facing several days of scorching heat, and temperatures in the northern province of Hebei are expected to reach 42 degrees Celsius. Meanwhile, a prolonged heat wave continues to wreak havoc in India, as the eastern state of Odisha reported 8 deaths within 72 hours. The country has recorded nearly 25,000 cases of heat stroke and 60 deaths nationwide between March and May. Officials say they are in the middle of its longest heat wave on record, with temperatures recently exceeding 50 degrees Celsius in some areas. Over in Greece, the popular tourist site of the Athens Acropolis has been closed to the public due to a heat wave. The UNESCO archaeological site was closed during the hottest hours of the day as temperatures were forecast to reach 43 degrees Celsius. The first heat wave of the year in Greece, which regularly experiences scorching summers, is expected to peak over the next 2 days. The Climate Crisis and Civil Protection Ministry also warned of a very high risk of fires in the Attica region around Athens. Schools remain closed in several regions of the country, including the capital, while public sector employees have been advised to work from home.
Denmark has recalled several spicy ramen noodles by South Korean company Samyang, saying the capsaicin content could be poisonous to consumers. The country's food agency issued the warning on Tuesday, urging consumers to throw away the products or return them to the store where they were bought.
3 flavors of the Samyang instant ramen line have been withdrawn: the Bulldog 3 times spicy and hot chicken, 2 times spicy and hot chicken, and hot chicken stew. It is not known whether any specific incidents prompted the Danish authorities to take action. The country's Veterinary and Food Administration said it had assessed the level of capsaicin in a single package as high enough to pose a risk of acute poisoning to the consumer. It also highlighted the warning for children who can be harmed by extremely spicy food. Samyang is a major South Korean food manufacturer, which brands itself as the first company in the country to create instant noodles back in the 1960s.
That's all we have for you on AWANI Tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Saraya Mia, and we'll see you again.
Keputusan untuk menarik balik permohonan membatalkan keputusan Mahkamah Antarabangsa ICJ berkaitan Pulau Batu Putih dibuat oleh Kabinet pada tahun 2018. Notis terhenti keahlian serta-merta sudah diserahkan kepada 6 wakil rakyat bersatu yang melakukan ketidakpatuhan di bawah Fasal 10.4 Perlembagaan Parti itu. Sekurang-kurangnya 41 terbunuh dalam kejadian kebakaran sebuah bangunan yang menempatkan pekerja di selatan Kuwait pada Rabu. Laporan penuh di saluran 501 dan Astro AWANI.com.
Hello and good evening. I'm Melissa Idris. Welcome to Consider This. This is the show where we want you to consider and then reconsider what you know of the news of the day. More than 500 people from the Bajau Laut community in Sempurna, Sabah were evicted by authorities last week, and their stilt houses demolished, destroyed, some even burned. The plight of the Bajau Laut have since dominated national attention after several video recordings of the incident were uploaded to social media with the hashtag Pandang ke Sabah now trending. Now, joining us on the show today is Mukmin Nantang, who first uploaded the now viral videos. Mukmin is the founder of the Sabah-based NGO Borneo Comrade. For almost a decade now, Borneo Comrade has been running sekolah-sekolah alternatif which provides a free education for stateless, undocumented and underserved children in Sabah. Mukmin, thank you so much for joining me on the show. Saudara Mukmin yang first yang mula-mula muat naik video yang dah tular sekarang menunjukkan rumah-rumah baja laut dirobohkan, dibakar. What do you understand, Mukmin, as to why it happened? Apa yang difahamkan tentang kenapa, apa yang berlaku dan kenapa ia berlaku?
Yes, terima kasih Melissa dengan Awani. Jadi benda ini terjadi, kami menerimalah video tersebut dan kami sangat terkejutlah. Kami menerima video itu daripada komuniti itu sendiri. Dikatakan bahawa mereka dinafikan hak untuk tinggal di pulau itu, sedangkan mereka sudah tinggal bertahun-tahun di sana. Bahkan sebelum wujudnya Malaysia, bajau laut ini memang ada di Laut Suluh ini, Laut Sabah ini ya. Jadi kami tidak pasti ini adalah SOP yang betul atau tidak, meroboh dan membakar secara paksa ya. Jadi ketika kami pergi ke lapangan itu, kami sendiri tanya dengan orang-orang kampung bajau-bajau laut ini. Mereka sendiri kata mereka tiba-tiba penguatkuasa tiba-tiba datang, tiba-tiba teriak-teriak halau, robohkan, dan ada juga yang penguatkuasa dinyatakan ya di dalam temu bual kami, kalau dia kata kalau mereka masih nampak lagi bajau laut di sini, mereka juga akan dibakar. Jadi ini suatu keadaan yang sangat tegang ya. Saya fikir macam sangat-sangat melampau. Ya.
Apa impak kepada komuniti bajau laut ni selepas rumah mereka dirobohkan? Bagaimana mereka menghadapi pengusiran itu? How are they coping with the loss of their homes?
Ya, ketika kami membuat kajian lapangan bersama pasukan pencari fakta Borneo Comrade, kami mendapati pertama, contohnya di Pulau Maiga ya, pulau yang kita nampak video tular itu, yang diroboh dan dibakar itu, mereka merempat kerana mereka takut kan, mereka sudah diberi amaran kalau mereka dilihat mereka akan juga akan dibakar dan sebagainya. Jadi mereka sekarang ni merempat di pulau-pulau sekitar pulau tersebut, menumpang-numpang dan sebagainya. Dan ada juga mereka sudah mula pergi ke kawasan kampung-kampung di darat ya, ataupun kawasan-kawasan pekan. Jadi kebanyakan mereka sudah mula merempat di mana-mana sahaja. Kerana dianggarkan di Maiga itu sekurang-kurangnya 600 penduduk bajau laut berada di situ. Dan di pulau-pulau lain lagi, seperti saya pergi, sebuah pulau ini, rumah mereka yang dirobohkan adalah dinding dan bumbung. Dan sedihnya adalah mereka masih tinggal di situ tanpa bumbung dan dinding. Dan ketika kami pergi itu, ketika selepas hujannya, malam itu hujan, dan kami bertanya sendiri dengan komuniti, adakah kamu di sini waktu hujan? Ya. Kami terpaksa, kami tidak ada tempat lain lagi untuk berteduh. Ya.
Mukmin, apa pendapat Mukmin tentang alasan atau penjelasan yang diberi daripada pihak berkuasa yang mengatakan tindakan mereka actually atas sebab-sebab keselamatan negara? Apa pendapat Mukmin?
Itu adalah satu benda yang tidak konkret ya, kerana kerajaan tidak pernah mengeluarkan data yang konkret keselamatan apa kan, dan siapa, takkanlah satu dua orang. Contohlah kalau dia cakapnya ada masalah keselamatan, kenapa kampung yang dibakar, kenapa kampung yang diroboh? Dan buktinya kalau kita cakap pasal keselamatan, kalau kita lihat di media sosial sekarang tengah tular, ramai orang pelancong-pelancong datang ke pulau-pulau ini bertemu dengan komuniti, melihat kampung mereka yang sangat cantik dan unik. Kenapa tidak ada faktor keselamatan? Kita tidak pernah dengar isu bajau laut ini, mereka pelancong datang, mereka sakiti dan sebagainya. Saya duduk di dalam komuniti bajau laut ini sangat lama dan ditulis di dalam buku dinamika bajau laut ya, kalau kita baca, kita sendiri jelas, pengkaji-pengkaji kita sendiri jelas bahwasanya bajau laut ni adalah manusia, komuniti yang paling mengelak konflik. Ketika mereka dikacau, selama ini kan mereka mempunyai sejarah yang panjang ya, dihalau daripada pulau tempat-tempat mereka tinggal ataupun tempat mereka berteduh, mereka mesti akan pergi. Itulah bajau laut. Mereka tidak berkonflik dengan mana-mana komuniti kerana mereka mau fokus untuk teruskan hidup mereka yang sangat sederhana dan unik itu.
Mukmin, apa pendapat Mukmin tentang kesedaran masyarakat, public awareness tentang komuniti bajau laut, mungkin cara hidup komuniti ini sebelum video ni tular, dan saya fahamkan isu penindasan komuniti bajau laut ni sudah lama berlaku, berdekad sudah berlaku. Kenapa Mukmin rasa kali ini video ini, isu ini mendapat perhatian besar?
Ya, sebenarnya kalau kita nampak video itu, untuk pengetahuan semuanya, video yang disebarkan itu video yang diambil sendiri oleh penguatkuasa. Sebab tidak ada komuniti di situ. Bajau laut tidak ada di situ. Kalau kita nampak video itu, video terbakar, ada tuduhannya bajau laut membakar rumahnya sendiri. Sedangkan dalam video tersebut yang meroboh itu penguatkuasa, dan waktu rumah itu terbakar, penguatkuasa sahaja yang ada di situ buat bajau laut dan sebagainya. Jadi sebenarnya saya nampak sentimen masyarakat ketika ini adalah marah ketika bajau laut ini tidak dilayan seperti manusia. Kan ketika kita sedang bersolidariti kepada Palestin dan sebagainya, sedang ada satu keadaan manusia yang berada dalam sempadan negara ini diperlakukan seperti sama ya. Itu kenapa banyak orang cakap Zionis, Israel dan sebagainya. Jadi itu rasanya kemarahan bertambah. Sebab mau tidak mahu orang tidak boleh terima bajau laut ini kerana mereka sebelum ini hidup miskin. Mereka tertolak daripada sebelum ini lagi, mereka tertolak daripada laut, dipaksa untuk pergi ke darat. Rumah mereka dirampas, diroboh dan sebagainya. Mereka pergi ke darat. Mereka dianggap sebagai orang yang melakukan masalah sosial. Hiduga, minta sedekah, berjalan-jalan, bertelemparan di pekan-pekan. Jadi itu sentimen orang marah. Tetapi ketika bajau laut itu diperlakukan begitu, orang tidak boleh terima. Kan ini sepatutnya banyak orang kata adalah kerajaan kata kita kena menghormati undang-undang. Sedangkan bagi saya ya, saya melihat sentimen masyarakat, bagi saya orang kita sendiri faham undang-undang itulah sepatutnya dahulu menghormati nilai-nilai kemanusiaan. Undang-undang, kalau undang-undang negara pertama sekali etik dia, nilai dia yang perlu dihormati adalah kemanusiaan itu. Ya.
Betul. So sekarang ni what is the latest Mukmin? Apa yang Mukmin harap akan berlaku sebagai langkah seterusnya? Apa yang Mukmin ingin lihat berlaku selepas ini untuk membantu komuniti bajau laut ini?
Ya, kami sudah pergi ke kampung-kampung dan pulau-pulau tersebut, bertemu dengan komuniti, bercakap sendiri dengan mereka, mendengar sendiri aspirasi mereka apa. Dan ada beberapa kampung yang memangnya mahu bertahan di tempat mereka sendiri. Ini sahaja tempat nenek moyang mereka yang mereka boleh kekalkan. Ini satu tradisi ya, satu etnik tua yang mengekalkan kebudayaan. Kita di mata dunia, kita sentiasa klaim kita ada manusia yang unik, tahan menyelam dan sebagainya. Tetapi ketika ini terjadi, kemana klaim-klaim itu? Ketika National Geographic ya mendokumentasikan mereka, Malaysia antara yang klaim paling besar, ini adalah tempat kami sempurna, sehingga pelancongan sempurna ini mendadak naik. Tetapi ketika sempurna sudah maju, sele-sele mewah telah membangun, mereka dipinggirkan. Jadi apa yang saya mahu daripada kerajaan dahulu adalah pertama, harus membentuk satu jawatan kuasa khas, di mana kementerian-kementerian, ahli akademik, pengamal undang-undang, komuniti itu sendiri, dan organisasi-organisasi seperti NGO boleh terlibat untuk merangka plan strategik jangka masa panjang. Apa yang kita boleh buat? Sebab sekarang ini tidak ada plan apa-apa. Bagaimana mau mengurus dokumen mereka, memberikan mereka pendidikan dan sebagainya. Dan sekarang ini juga sebenarnya kami sedang berurusan dengan sebuah firma peguam untuk melihat perkara ini daripada sudut undang-undang. Kerana kita sangat pasti ya, ada juga sebuah kampung itu mereka mempunyai dokumen-dokumen yang lengkap di mana sebelum Taman Tun Sakaran, Taman-Taman Sabah itu wujud, mereka wujud di situ dan mereka menjadi komiti, menjadi sebahagian. Mereka ada bukti-bukti fail, dokumen, dan saya fikir ini penting. Mereka sedih kerana mereka tidak ada yang bantu mereka, dan saya sebagai organisasi, sebagai aktivis, saya terpanggil untuk membawa peguam sendiri untuk melihat isu ini di mana kita boleh pertegakkan keadilan untuk mereka. Yep.
Mukmin, thank you so much for joining me on the show today. That was Mukmin Nantang from Borneo Comrade. We're going to take a quick break here and consider this. We will be back with more.
Daulat Tuanku.
Di dalam setiap berita yang dibawa, konteks amat penting. Kami sentiasa membawakan yang tergempar dan terkini. Pastikan Astro AWANI menjadi pilihan anda, tidak kira di mana sahaja anda berada.
Hi, welcome back to Consider This. I'm Melissa Idris. Let's continue our conversation about the Bajau Laut community. This after authorities demolished homes and forcibly displaced hundreds within the Saraya Marine Park in Sabah. Joining me now is Vilashini Somaya, who is with the Gender Studies program in University Malaya. In 2013-2014, she directed a documentary titled Di Ambang, which is about being stateless in Sabah. And she also wrote a paper which was titled The Sea is Indigenous Land Too, Negotiating Presence and Rights of Indigenous Maritime Communities in Sabah. Villa, thank you so much for being on the show with me. I appreciate your time. I'm hoping that you can begin our conversation maybe putting into context for us the historical and socioeconomic background of the Bajau Laut community. Maybe to those who may not be aware, I mean, they're described as seafaring nomads, but what exactly is the Bajau Laut's relationship